But why should we care? Why does it matter? Well, the fact of the matter is the American society absolutely is still the front runner in innovation, technology, and R&D. And some of the problems that we will be facing, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be 9 billion of us on the planet in just 2050. At least that's what the demographers say. Some of the biggest problems, not just poverty and environmental concerns, but issues around energy, issues around infrastructure, are things that I really believe can only be solved by actually focusing on innovation and technological solutions. Just to illustrate, I don't know how many people in this room know, and I was quite surprised to find out quite recently, that we are living today on oil finds from the 1950s and 1960s. Since the 1950s and 1960s, there have not been any major oil finds. And so clearly, the fact that the United States consumes 20 to 25% of the world's energy, of which we consume 85 million barrels a day, and the United States consumption alone takes up all the consumption of the number 1 and 2 countries on the planet, we know that it's going to make it difficult for us to live in a free, fair, global society when countries like China and India and Brazil and so on are converging to the living standards and aspiring to the living standards of the United States. Something has to give. And the fact of the matter is we need American innovation right up there to try and help solve these problems, whether it's in healthcare and medicine, whether it's in energy, or whether it's in climate concerns. But in order to solve these problems, America has to do what it does best, which is basically to create the incentives that drives the innovators and the entrepreneurs to come up with these solutions. And these people need mathematical backgrounds, they need sciences, and they certainly need education. But looking at the academic performance in aggregate of what's going on in the United States does not make pleasant reading. And as somebody who comes from Africa, I find it particularly distressing because I know how much, not just Africa, but people around the world, and I've been very fortunate to travel to all continents except Antarctica, I know how much people are really relying on America getting things right. So the fact that we're not investing in education, and we know that these are big gaps to get education going, the big lags, if you miss out on a generation, it's a lost generation. It's very distressing that the United States is not prioritizing education to the degree that it should be. Yes, there are some initiatives, the 3% of GDP that President Obama announced, but that is simply not enough. If you look at the demographics, the United States, by some of the estimates that I've seen, will have a minority population larger than the current majority population in 2042. If you look at disaggregated performance in maths and sciences of minority groups in this country, it really, really is distressing and makes horrendous reading. So we've got to get back to that basic value of getting education. There's no point in going around to Africa and other poor places around the world and encouraging people to get educated if within your own country you have decided that it's not a priority. It is absolutely a priority, not just for America to get it right, but for the rest of the world also.